Hello guys and dolls, welcome back. I have a really exciting video for you guys today. I'm going to be unveiling the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette. Super excited about this. I was actually among the first to try it because Urban Decay invited me to the pre-launch preview party, and oh my god, it was so awesome. I am so mad at myself though because I forgot my camera. So while I was there, I was like, I'm gonna put it on Snapchat, I'm gonna put it on Instagram, I'm gonna blog this event. Oh my god, I'm so excited. And then I didn't have my stupid phone on me, so I don't have any pictures from the event. Well, I do actually have a couple of pictures because I met Beauty Junkies Unite and Jay Kissa. They were nice enough to take pictures of me with their phones. So that was kind of cool to meet bloggers whom I've admired for a really long time. But I went to the event with Angie of Goldie Starling and we didn't get a stinking picture together while we were there. It was so stupid. But I did hang out with her a little bit. She's a genuine friend of mine and a fantastic blogger. If you're not watching her already, you're crazy. Go subscribe. Anyway, this palette though, I'm so excited. As you guys know, I love the Urban Decay range of eyeshadows. I think that in terms of quality and blendability and texture and pigmentation, they've really got something special going on. So when I was invited to a launch, I didn't actually know what palette it was going to be for. When we walked in, we saw this. They had like a table set up with all of their naked palettes, and among them was this. And we're like, I don't recognize that. What's that? Oh my god. So me and Angie kind of like beelined for this palette to check it out. The packaging is phenomenal. It's got a nice texture to it. I love the texture. It's just so beautiful. It looks almost Art Deco. Oh, it's so beautiful. It reminds me a little bit of like the Mildred Pierce opening. It's just, oh, so good. Then you open it up. It has a nice, I'm gonna shield the eyeshadows just yet. It has a huge mirror, which is great. If you're gonna be using this for travel, you can actually see your whole face in the mirror, which is quite nice. Now, in terms of, is this a strong mirror? It is a little bit limp, but I mean, I had to wiggle it quite a bit to make it stand, fall down. And you could also hold it like this to do your makeup, and you could also open it up all the way, which is quite nice. Now, here are the eyeshadows in the palette. I know! And what have we been saying for years? We've been like, Urban Decay, when are you gonna do an all matte naked? Urban Decay, when are you gonna do an all matte naked? Hey, Urban Decay, it'd be really awesome? An all matte naked palette. And they kind of have done that with the Naked Basics palettes, but these are little small 6-pan, and these are phenomenal. These are among my favorite eyeshadow palettes. I love them. There's the original Naked Basics, and then there's the Naked Basics 2, which has more of like a slightly pinkier color configuration, but overall super neutral, great eyeshadows, great ones to use in conjunction with other palettes. I also use these as travel palettes, as everyday palettes. They get a lot of love in my house. In fact, these are the naked palettes I use the most, are these two little minis. So this Ultimate palette takes that and runs with it. So we've got some fun colors, like we've got Lethal, which is a beautiful burgundy plum kind of color. We've got Extra Bitter, which is this warm yummy brown. Oh, I just stuck my finger in it, damn it. There's really something for everyone. There's some mauve tones, there's really great transitional colors. If you're a fan of Combust from the Smoky Naked palette, you are going to love Commando. They're basically the exact same eyeshadow, and I'm not mad about it because it's one of my favorite blending colors. You've got everything from a very, very light highlight to black. Got a gray, which is something that a lot of companies don't include. And one thing I love about this palette, and I cannot stress this enough, is that all of these colors go together really well. Even the ones that sort of look really, really far apart, like maybe they wouldn't go together, really do blend together beautifully. And so many companies come out with a neutral eyeshadow palette and they just dump a bunch of colors in there without any rhyme or reason, and they don't really go together. And while they can work as a complement to other palettes, for me, the marker of a good neutral palette is that it can be used all together and also in conjunction with your other eyeshadow palettes. And this completely knocks that out of the park. These look so beautiful together. They all blend beautifully. They are all matte with the exception of Blow, which has a slight pearlescence to it, which is good. That's what you want in a highlight color. It adds a little bit of luminosity. If you don't want a shimmery highlight, you can always use Pre-Game. The textures are just phenomenal. The pigmentation's great. They blend beautifully. This is a perfect palette. I'm trying to think of what other information I could include with this review or factoids that you'd want to know. Really, this is an A+ perfect palette, and I almost never say that. In terms of the cost of this palette, I do believe it'll be $54 because the other naked palettes are in the $54 range, so we can kind of get an idea that that's what it will be. I don't have a launch date for this yet because they haven't given it out yet, so we don't know when it's coming out, but I assume it will be fairly soon. I am so excited for everybody to get their hands on this and to try it out. You will love it. It also comes with a brush, and I'm not the biggest fan of the brushes that come in these palettes, not that there's anything wrong with them, but they tend to be relatively stiff, and so they pick up a lot of product, and I just like to have more control, so I tend to favor like softer brushes that pick up a little bit less product so I can build as I go. But this little mini one right here is really great for doing highlight on the inner corner or anything like that. And I did use the other end for swatching the eyeshadows, which you will see now. So what we have in the palette is Blow, Nudie, Commando, Tempted, Instinct, Lethal, and then on the second row we have Pre-Game, Extra Bitter, Faith, Lockout, Magnet, and Blackjack. For my eyeshadow look today, I wanted to do something where I kept the center lid relatively nude. Of course, I would have to add eyeshadow onto it because you add all these smoky colors, then you need to actually put something down. So I used Nudie, and it's just the perfect color for getting that look where the center of the lid looks nude. It looks like there isn't anything there. It just makes the whole thing look super sultry and sexy, almost a little bit of like a languid eye or a heavy lidded look. Fantastic if you have hooded eyes to make the eye appear larger, rounder, etc., etc. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this makeup tutorial. So to get started today, I'm using my Anastasia Perfect Brow Pencil. This is a powder pencil hybrid. It's pretty cool. Does a great job at filling in the eyebrows with a very natural touch. So that's what I'm doing today. I like to use this because it gives me that nice tint of color that I need to completely change the color of my brows without being too like drawn on looking, because even if you like do too much, like I kind of over applied there, you can just come back and blend it out, and it actually blends quite easily compared to other pencils which are a little stiffer and deposit more color. It's just a little bit easier than using an actual powder because it is in the pencil form. So for my eyeshadow primer today, I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Enigma primer. This is my favorite because in addition to helping to prevent greasing, creasing, all that nice neat junk that primer is supposed to do, it also acts a bit as a concealer for my eyelids because it's very close to a concealer shade for me, and it has a good amount of pigmentation. And unlike something like Eden, which is also a good primer but has more of like a yellow tone to it, this has more of like a fleshy type color. It's a little bit more neutral. For my eyeshadows today, I'm going to be using the Ultimate Naked Basics palette. I'm going to go ahead and take the brush out so it doesn't keep falling out on me. I'm going to use this London Brush Company brush. This is the Classic 5. It's a pointed brush, great for doing what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm taking Lethal, and I'm going to place this right here in my inner corner. So this pointed brush just really gets in there quite perfectly. And I'm going to blend that very softly in towards the center lid and sort of stop it about there. And then I'll come in at the outer corner, drawing a line up like that, and then blending that over as well. I'll leave that inner part naked for now. We're also making a bit of an angle here and here. I'm not really intending to make a wing out here, so I'm just going to take a little brush and blend that out while I can. For the crease, I'm going to use Extra Bitter, this super awesome orangey brown. I'm just picking that up with the MAC 217. And we are going to rock that in our socket line. So I'm just going to drag the color, almost creating like a bridge between the inner and outer bits that we've created. And it's skipping for some reason today. I don't know why. It didn't do this when I tested the look yesterday. We're just going to blend until that little skipping mark goes away. We won't worry about the lid right now because we're going to put something else there. We'll just try to blend that out. The skipping thing can happen with poor quality eyeshadows, which these are not, but it can also happen as you age. Your eyelid skin is a little bit looser, so it can kind of fold it on itself as you're blending, and it's okay, you just go back and blend in the other direction. So to prevent that skipping from happening on this side, I'm going to use an even softer brush. This is a blue squirrel brush from Wayne Goss. And I'm picking that up. And I'm going to do the exact same thing where I create the little bridge. You can see this is softer. It's going to give me more of a wash of color. It's not going to be as concentrated as it is with the other brush, but it will be smoother. So I'm just going to have to work a little bit harder to build it up because the brush doesn't pick up as much product as the one that has a little bit more, see this one has more of like a tapered edge, whereas this one's a bit more blunt, so this is going to pick up more product than the nice tapered one, which will pick up less product with each swipe. But in some ways that's good because you get the opportunity to go ahead and build it up to your liking. To blend out Extra Bitter, which is a beautiful and orange, but I just want to make it like a little, just tone it down a hair. I'm going to take Commando eyeshadow, which is a beautiful neutral transitional color that works with just about everything. And it just takes down Extra Bitter just like a notch. Next order of business, take a little bit of nudie, do a little nudie Judy out here, making a really great transition of all these colors. And then for a highlight today, I'm going to take Blow, which is the only shimmery color in the palette, has a bit of a pearl finish. And I'm going to place it right here, just under the peak of the brow. Leave it alone. And then I'll take it again right here, right at the peak of the brow. Leave it alone. Bring back your blending brush and just soften the edge and share the love. You don't want to put a frosty highlight all over. That can make the look a bit dated. You just want that little bit of a pop of highlight right there at the brow bone where it's really attractive. And then for the center of the lid, I'm going to pick up Nudie Judy, which is, it's called Nudie, but Nudie Judy is so much better, right? So I'm picking up Nudie, and I'm going to place Nudie right here in the center to enhance our naked inner eyeball. And it just, having this little pop of nude color in the center of the lid makes your eye look so much more round, so much more open, so much bigger. It's especially a good trick if you have hooded eyes. And we will blend that to the inner and outer and the top edge as well. But I'm going to bring back Lethal a little bit. Just enhance that a bit in the inner and outer corners. Got lost a little bit in all the blending, and then I'll use this brush to bridge that gap once again. Now this is something I want to show you guys. So my eyes are not even. This one has more lid space than this one. So one way that I balance that out is I'll actually take the eyeshadow a little bit higher on this side, so it's technically above the fold of my crease, whereas on this one it gets nicely tucked in. Does that make sense? It's one of the reasons why I never like show like full, you know, matching photos of my two eyes, because they never really are exactly the same because I have to apply makeup to them differently. I cannot do it exactly symmetrical because the eyes themselves are not actually symmetrical. I thought it would be fun to kind of go with like a whole like Urban Decay theme, so I'm going to be using the Naked 3 liner. This is the one that was the double-ended, and I'm going to use Blackheart, which is the one that has the beautiful like red sparkle in it, but I'm going to apply it very, very carefully just at the lash line. I don't want there to be some big liner moment happening on the lid. I want this to be about this beautiful shape that we've created. We're making those eyes come forward, we're making them larger. So I then don't want to like rob, you know, lid space by applying a bunch of liner, but I do want it to have some definition at the lash line. So you see I'm going in very delicately. Foundation today, I'm getting started with the Veil Mineral Primer. This is an oil-free makeup primer that also has SPF in it. So it's just my absolute favorite primer. It leaves my skin with the most beautiful texture. It's a bit on the expensive side, but when you find something that you love, you don't have to mess around with trying a bunch of new things. You just go to that thing that works for you, you know what I mean? Ah, I'm on that like you know what I mean kick today. For foundation today, I'm going to be using the Urban Decay All Nighter foundation, and I'm just going to use... I'm trying to just use one pump. Normally I pump out 2 pumps, but I'm going to do 1 full pump today. This is a London Brush Company brush in Nouveau 4, and it is a pyramid shaped brush. It's quite interesting and unique, and I kind of am obsessed with it at the moment. So because this is a new brush to me, I haven't used it a lot. This is literally my 3rd time using this brush, so I don't have, you know, any expert tips from having used it for a very long time. I can only tell you what I'm doing and what I like about what I'm doing. So I'm just picking up a tiny bit of product on the brush each time I dip it down, just really on the tips of the brush. And then I'm applying the color where I want it concentrated the most. And then I'm just using the side of the brush to use a combination of strokes from dabs to sweeps to blend it out. This foundation dries really quickly, which is one of the reasons why I'm working in small sections. I want to make sure that I blend everything out in a certain section and don't leave any weird edges before I move on to the next. Around places like my nose, I'm sort of pinching the brush together to make it a bit of a smaller profile to get into those little nooks and crannies like around the eyes. Look how much foundation that I have left over though. Like, what the heck? I normally use pretty much all the foundation. So, really impressed with both this brush and actually this foundation, because it's partially because it has such full coverage that I don't need to apply like a thick mask of it. I can apply it, you know, a little bit more sheer. And I'm just using the brush now to blend down onto my neck, because my face is a different color from my neck, but if I put foundation that matches my neck on my face, then it's way lighter than my body. It's a whole thing. For my concealer today, I'm going to be using my Naked Skin color correcting fluid in Peach. I'm going to use the back of my hand as a palette for this, so just kind of squeeze some of that out on the back of my hand. And then I will use the Fair Neutral concealer from the Naked Skin line as well. Just kind of, you can see that's quite a bit lighter. Go ahead and mix those two together. Place this just where I need it, just in that little socket or under eye socket line. Right there. And I will use this brush to blend it out. And again, you can choke up on that brush and pinch it together to make it smaller or create the shape that you'd like. This Urban Decay foundation does not require setting. It actually sets down to a really lovely finish on its own. However, in places like my under eye where I do tend to have oily, you know, ness and stuff like that, I do need to set. So I'm going to use this Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Powder, which is just phenomenal. And just so that I don't have any weird textural differences, I'm just taking it down the rest of my face. You can see it just barely takes out the little bit of shine from the foundation. Just setting my brows with some brow gel from Senna Cosmetics. This is the, I think it's golden brown. Yeah. Works for blondes, redheads, anyone with a warm tone to their brows, or wanting warm tone in their brows like me. So when it comes to the lower lash line, what I'd like to do is start out with a neutrally purple color. This is Dark Side from that same pencil. Love how this pencil has the two different colors. And I'm putting this right on the lash line. Bit of a feathery way to put it on. I'm not drawing a stark line, just sort of dabbing it over as I go. So the next thing that I want to do is really marry this top colors that we've done with the bottom. So I'm going to take Extra Bitter on that same London Brush Company brush I used earlier for Lethal, and I'm going to smoke out the liner on the lower lash line. And really blend that up so that it just blurs right into the top edge. And then just to really set off that orange, right there at the lash line, I'm going over with Makeup Forever I-90. It's a beautiful, bright, iridescent purple, and it just completely sets off that orange. See the difference? And then because I'd like my eyes to look bigger, but I don't necessarily want there to be like a white line in my lash line, I'm just going to take a little bit of NYX Wonder Pencil, and I believe this is in medium. Yes. And so this will just open up the eye and make it look natural and neutral, without like going overboard and being like, hi, I'm wearing white eyeliner in my waterline. If you want it brighter, you could use the light one, or if you have a darker skin tone, I believe they have one shade darker from the medium. Okay, mascara time. So first things first, we've got to torture our eyelashes just a little bit with my eyelash torture device. So I first give them a nice little crimp at the base, and then I move them slightly up, bend, and move it up. Gives it a really great curl without just looking like overly bent in. It gives it a nice like graduation to the curl when you do it this way. So curl at the base, pull it up a little bit and then kind of flip it up. It looks weird, but just trust me. Just trust me on this one. I'm gonna go ahead and do my mascara on the bottom. This is Perversion. And I love how volumizing this mascara is. It just, especially on the bottom, it just gives them this like great dramatic look. You want to get more mascara on your wand. You don't want to pump it, because when you pump your mascara wand, you're like injecting it with air, and that's going to make it dry out. So what you want to do is sort of, you can twist like this, like slowly, or you can even just move it around like that. Not that you necessarily need more mascara. This one. So you get it really thick at the base, then I sort of pull it through. So I have lots and lots of volume at the base of the lash, but then it looks nice and lengthened on the tips. It's a tapered look. So since we're like using every Urban Decay product ever under the sun, I thought I would go ahead and bust out my Gwen Stefani blush palette. And I'm going to use Easy, which is a beautiful shade. And this is a Wayne Goss brush. It's the Airbrush brush. And place this right on the apple of my cheek, and then work it back. And then I do want to warm that up, so I'm going to grab a bit of Lo-Fi. And two becomes a bit more like a peachy kind of blush situation. And of course my light is like really bright on this side, so I'm going to block the light so I can see what I'm doing, so I don't end up with like a scary clown cheek just because I couldn't see. Because see, like, look, looks all washed out. So I'm using Sin from the Afterglow highlight series to make my cheekbone just a little bit extra. I'm just gonna add a little bit under my chin too. I like the glow on my chin. I think that might make me a weirdo, but I don't care. Okay, now for lips, I have to wear Menace because at the Urban Decay event, another blogger was wearing it and I was like, oh my god, I forgot how much I love that lipstick. So to line out my lips today, I'm going to start out with Anarchy, and I like to make it nice and sharp before I use it. So I'll go ahead and use a sharpener. I have a pretty pronounced lip scar on the left side of my face, which is, I think you're right when you're watching the video. But it's very important for me to get that lip liner on. It's one of the reasons why I almost always use lip liner when I do lipstick, because it helps me to cover that texture of skin that doesn't want to be covered by regular lipstick. Sometimes it skips over just because the texture of that skin is so smooth, the products just slick off it. Whereas with the lip liner, particularly one that's waterproof like this one from Urban Decay, it'll actually stick on there. So that's why lip liner is so important to me, and I always take my time with it. So I'll go ahead and I'm just dragging that line to make it a little bit fuller, and then I'll mash my lips together to blend it a bit. Now the lipstick that I'm using today is a slightly different color. It's a bit more of a warm hot pink. So because Menace is a warmer color than Anarchy, I'm going to go in first with a bullet to just smear it all on, and then I'm going to go in with a lip brush and clean it up, make sure I get it into all the corners so I don't have like a weird like area where it's a little more blue toned than the rest of it. So here we have the completed look. This was such a fun tutorial to create for you guys. I just love this palette so much. It's so versatile. It's such a great complement to all of the other, you know, glittery and shimmery eyeshadow palettes that we have. This is chock full of transitional colors and crease colors, and it has highlights and dark colors for doing your smoky eyes or just enhancing anything and making it pop more. It's such a great palette. Bravo, Urban Decay. This is definitely an A+ palette in my opinion, from the packaging to the quality of the eyeshadows to the selection of shades to the decisions that were made in terms of what shades to include with this. You've got your warms, you've got your cools, you've got your peachies. Well, there could have been just like a hair more done in the peachy arena, but honestly the way that you can blend these together, you can get a peachy color just by mixing a couple of colors together. You've got such a great amount of highlights. You've got your dark colors. This is just bravo, A+. So love this, love you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Remember to be vintage or tacky, just be your own kind of beautiful.